And to let you know that the Son of Man has authority to forgive sin, he said to the man, "Get up, pick up your mat, and go home." Today is the last Sunday before Lent, and the church presents to us again, as a continuation of the gospel of last Sunday, that Jesus was sent by the Father to restore, to heal those who need so much to be healed. If we go in the first reading today, we saw the chosen people of God who, although they have sinned and they have really disobeyed God's command, the Torah, they were led by their own kings to another enslavement. The first one was of Egypt, the second one is of the Babylonians. And we see that after they spent 70 years there, the Lord wants to reassure and again renew the covenant he made with them. And today, to the prophet Isaiah, he said, "I am going to make something new." And that is because you, Israel, you sons of Jacob, has wearied me out, has really put me away from your lives. And because of that, I am going to forgive you from your past sins, and I will remember them no more. And with that in mind, of that prophecy of the first reading, we go in the gospel. And we find Jesus now in front of the sick man who was unable to come to him because he cannot walk, but through the help of those 4 men, they lower him down in front of him. And he announced to him, "Son, your sins are forgiven." The people around him really were astonished at these words, because only God can forgive sins. And this man is making himself God in forgiving the sins of this man. And so Jesus, as soon as he perceived what they were thinking of him, he said to them, "What is easier to say, your sins are forgiven, or get up and walk?" And to make you understand that I have the authority to do so, he said to the man, "Get up, take up your mat and walk." My dear people, many times our sickness is not physical. Our sickness is spiritual. And unless we are healed spiritually, our physical remains sick. And it's very important to understand this, that many times our sickness that we experience in the flesh is not just flesh. It's coming from a very deeper cause, and that is the cause of the sickness of our spiritual level. I personally, and you have done so, met people whom the Lord has lowered the cross on their shoulders a little heavy. And you visit them, whether home or hospital or other places that they are, and you find them with that serene, with that peace in their heart. Because sometimes, although the sickness of the flesh of the physical can make a real toll on us, if we have faith in God and we rely on God, we are not going to be alone, but we are going to bear that cross with someone else next to us to help us carry it. And that's why he said to this man, "Your sins are forgiven." Because many times the sins that we have is the sin that separates us from God and unfortunately from one another. It is sin that destroys that unity that we're supposed to have with our Creator, and that unity that suppose we have with one another. And that's why today in the gospel Jesus looked at the man and saw that he needs more than physical healing. He needs spiritual healing. And that's why we are here today. We are here today to ask God through His Son to touch us and to heal us from those infirmities, from those sickness, that we call them spiritual. And I call them spiritual because many times those sickness of the spiritual level can really destroy us. Because if we are sickly, if we are sick spiritually, we are going to see a consequence of those sickness that it really is going to cause our lifestyle, our physical. And that's why today, when we turn to that beautiful letter of St. Paul to the church of Corinth, he is going to say to us, what are those spiritual sickness or disease that separate us from Christ and even from one another? And St. Paul today opened again, as he wrote to the people of Corinth, by saying to them, as God is faithful. Now we know that when God makes a promise, he is able to carry it because he is God. When I make a promise, many times I do it when I am happy. And many times I am unable to carry the promise I am going to make. Sometimes I make decisions when I am not happy. And unfortunately I have to bear the consequence of those decisions. And that's why he said, God is faithful. Our word to you is not yes and no. Our word that we preach to you is not today yes, and tomorrow, because we don't feel up to it, is no. Listen to what he said. For the Son of God, Jesus Christ, who was proclaimed to you by Silvanus, Timothy, and me, was not yes and no, but yes has been in him. St. Paul knows that after he evangelized them and gave them the gift of faith, there was Silvanus, whom he left in charge, and later on he installed Timothy as their bishop. And we know that he himself knows that the preaching of these three men was not yes and no, but was yes.